Hello and welcome to Marion's World. This is a bit of bits and pieces, this video, and that's because I've been tidying up, finding things that needed doing, and I've been doing them. And so I'll just let you see what it is. There's three particular things that I'm going to show you, and I'll catch you up on my knitting, and one of the things that's in the video I can show you that a little bit further on too, so I hope you enjoy watching. Well, the first thing I have to repair here is this beautiful little dressing table mirror. It has the stand on the back. You can see, it's been a bit bothered about with, but this probably dates to the 1930s. Oh, you can see my ring light there. It's called Barbola, this work here, and this is broken. Now, they used to be really popular in the, I would say, 1930s. So this still would be classed as vintage, not antique. As antique, they usually say over 100 years. So we're not quite getting to that age. But even so, it's a really pretty little mirror. And I picked this up at a second-hand shop for not very much money, nearly a year ago now. And it's just been waiting on my desk to be repaired. And because I've been doing my tidying up, I thought today must be the day, and I thought I'd show you what I do. I don't need much in the way of supplies. I had some card or brown paper just to put in over the mirror, but actually I've decided to take the mirror out of the frame anyway. So I've just got a little screwdriver to get the mirror out, and a bit of a palette knife, pencil, a couple of coffee stirrer sticks. And what I'm going to use to do the repair is Milliput. Milliput's an epoxy putty. So you have two different colours. You just use equal amounts of each one, and when you mix it together, it'll make malleable clay that I can repair all these broken pieces with. There's quite a lot of broken things, which is why I got it for so cheap, because it was in a state. First things first, just using my little sewing machine screwdriver, and I'm going to unscrew these catches. Oh, I wasn't expecting anything underneath it. So what is that? I can't quite think what it says. 1609, something blue. Oh, I don't know. I don't think I can quite read what that says. If anybody else thinks they can decipher that, I think I can see 1609, which I suppose could be the pattern. And definitely blue. I'm not sure what they say. It looks like Depredam. I can't quite think what that means. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I've now got the frame that I can work on, and I'm going to give it a clean, just with my duster. I'm not going to wet it or anything. Don't want any moisture on it. You can see where the Barbola has been applied. These mirrors, and there were dressing table mirrors, and there were big mirrors that would hang on the wall. Quite often people bought kits to make them at home, and they bought this paste that was sometimes as a powder that they mixed with water, and sometimes the kit came with a paste, and then ladies would make their own Barbola mirrors. I'm not sure why it's called Barbola. I feel as if I should know, but I don't. So I'm going to the first thing I'm going to do really is just make up a bit of this paste. I'll just break some off. I want an equal amount. And wrap them back up tightly and keep them a bit longer. And now I just have to work this, and it's going to take a little while. Once it gets going, Milliput's good for repairing little things like this, because once it's dry, you can sand it and drill it, all sorts, and obviously I can paint it so it's going to look the same once I'm done. I'll try my best to get it to look the same anyway. I'm just going to work at this for quite a long time. Been working on this for a couple of minutes, and it's starting to soften down, and because they're really sort of white, I know the one had a bit of a yellow tinge on the outside. I think that's just because I haven't used it for so long, but because they're both white, you're really supposed to mix this up for quite a while. So I'm going to keep pressing it out thin and then rolling it up as a way of mixing things together, and then pressing it out again. And I'm going to do this for another 5 minutes because I need it to be totally mixed together. I've started to put the first leaf on there. I actually went and found another couple of tools that I can use. I've got a cocktail stick and a couple of my old cake decorating tools, actually, which is a little ball tool here, and another sort of slightly bigger than a cocktail stick, but it's got a point in the middle. And so I'm just going to start and shape these, and I don't have to do anything too elaborate, because when you look at them, they're quite primitive looking flowers. They're just generic in a way, and so really that's all I have to do. And so I think I've put that leaf on there, and I've just got it having a little crease down the middle. So it just copies these ones and a point. And so I've got some forget-me-not type flowers to put on. And I think I can just do these quite simply with a little ball. I'm going to flatten on, and this is very sticky. It will stick to everything that's there. To stop it sticking to my fingers, I've just got a little bowl of water here now that I can put on my fingers. You've got about an hour to work with this once you've mixed it up. So it's just a matter of getting on with it, planning out what you're going to do, and then getting on with it before it starts to set off. Just use that little tool to help that go in there. That's it, the water really helps. Just get all of these 5 petals on, and then maybe I'll put another leaf to the back, because I can sort of see that there's a broken off piece here, and so I think I'll just add a leaf. And I can see a leaf was there, so I shall put mine on there. And use my tool to smooth it in. These mirrors are so pretty. I love to see them. You just don't see them that often, really. And I think they're quite collectible. So they're just so pretty. As far as I know, if you see more brightly coloured ones, which this is, sort of blue, green, yellow, they're more likely to be the original paintwork. And if you see pastel ones, or them all in white, they'll have most likely have been repainted. That's already making a good difference there. And so I've got a big missing piece here, and then a big flower. There's quite a lot, actually. I think this probably went a long way over the top of the mirror. I'll just carry on with this back piece first. And this just does stick on really nicely, and then you can use the water to help your tool and your fingers not stick to it. And so I can just sort of smooth on the back. And hopefully I'll be able to match the colours a bit. Put the little central line in, and then they have lines going out, so I'll put them on. I'll just try and copy what's there. And now I'll start on the pieces here. So I've got a feeling that might have been a rose, and I've got a bit of a, there's a huge piece gone here. I think I'll just have to make that up. And I also have to remember to leave the space for the mirror. I've been getting on putting some leaves on, and I'm quite pleased at the way these are coming on. I've now got a big lump to fill in here, and I feel actually that there was more here as well. So I think this might have been a rose, and so I'm going to make a rose to go on there. And I've started just with a little piece of the milliput, and I'm starting to put the petals on. Now this is sort of the sort of thing that I used to do when I made wedding cakes, make sugar flowers, but for this I'm trying really hard to do it quite thick and not with too much finesse, because really it has to be a little bit thick to match in with what's there. So I'm just making a little sausage, and I'm going to thin one of the edges to be the petal edge. And then I'm going to stick it round, and I think that looks like the sort of way that when I look at the pictures online of the way that the flowers look, it sort of feels like that type of thing. So I'm going to use this little stalk, which I'll probably cut off at the end, and carry on putting little petals on. So get a little bit of milliput off, and I can feel it starting to go off now. This has maybe been an hour already. I'll make my little sausage. I'll dip my fingers and thin the edge. So I get a really nice thin edge, but I keep it thick at the bottom. This around. And I can see a rose starting to appear. I think maybe if you had really thin gloves, you could put gloves on to save it going on your skin, but I don't have any, and I'm actually not particularly concerned. You don't have to aim for a definite shape. I'm just pulling that edge out with my fingers. And by keeping them thick at the bottom, I'm letting them stand out a bit. So let's have a look. Definitely a bit bigger than that. I'm going to just cut that bit off now. Just pinch it off with my finger. I'm just pushing this flower into the space. Just keep using a bit of water so my tool doesn't stick. I need to make sure I still have room for my mirror. And just smooth everything off. But that's looking pretty alright. I'm going to put a leaf here. Obviously I've no idea what sort of design it was. I've looked online to see if I could see anything that sort of even looked like the beginnings of this, and there's so many beautiful designs, but I didn't see anything exactly like this, and so I'm just sort of going with the flow of the sort of thing it could be. Just try that for size. I think that's probably a good size. And hopefully this will just stick under there. I've definitely got room. Just getting awkward to put it in. Oh no, it'll definitely go into there. Make sure Got room for the mirror. It's so sticky this, it's got such good adhesive. It just sticks where you put it. Just bend that down a little. Now here, where I repaired that broken flower, I feel as if I should put something here, but not, I don't want another big rose, so maybe another lovely leaf and another, oh, I've got flowers there to repair as well. It's a good job I did the amount of milliput because I'm nearly using it all. It's the first time I've repaired anything like this, but it's being a nice thing to do. I wished I'd done it a year ago instead of it being just sitting here waiting to get done. So last thing, I'm going to use all of the rest to put a big leaf here. And you could use this technique for repairing a gilt frame or anything. As long as you can get some of this sort of epoxy putty. I'm sure it comes under other things as well, but I have milliput because it's what I've used to make things for the doll's house in the past. I just haven't used it for a while. But it's good for modelling. It takes really fine things. If you want to go really little, you can. I think that's the best I can do. That is it. I'm not bothering to fill in the cracks or anything. I feel that's part of its age and I'm happy that that stays like it is. But other than that, I've covered all the bits that I could see that were broken, and I've filled in just as I think with the rest. So probably tomorrow I'll come back and paint that, as it takes a few hours to dry, and yeah, I'd rather do the painting in the daylight in the morning. But so far I think that'll look fine. Well, it's the next morning and all of my modelling is totally hard as can be. So I've got my paints, my water, and I'm going to just attempt to paint them in the same manner as the original ones. I'm not going to try and change the colours, but I do want to just make sure that the whole thing looks the sort of way it would have, hopefully, when it was new. I'm going to do the leaves first. I've got some paints here beside me, and what I've actually got are my kuretake here, and I thought they would be nice. I nearly decided to use acrylics, but I'm going to just try and use these and see what happens. So I'm going to start off with a bit of a green here, and I think that's a little bit bright, but I'm going to, I've already done that bit, and I'm going to mix on the thing I'm painting. So the reason I'm using the watercolours is because exactly for the reason that you can maybe see is that the watercolour is going to sink into the carvings and is hopefully going to give me a good look. I just added a bit of brown on there. Might dry lighter, so I will just, if I need to put a second coat on, I will. I'm not going to overpaint any of the others, I don't think. I want to try and preserve as much of the original as I can. I'll just get a little pink for this one here. Well, it's very bright, but I can darken that down to try and match it in. It's all about just trying to copy what's there in a good way. I'll add a little bit of brown to that to get some age to it. That looks about right. Might amend these when they're dry with a bit of a dry brushing over the top. And where it's chipped, I'm just going to leave it. I don't want to take away what I liked about it at the first place, which was, the vintageness of it. So these blues, I just have to keep turning it round. Now I'm going to try and match in that little blue there, just adding a touch of brown, just to dull the colour. Again, I'm not trying to make it look modern. I want it to look its age, but just be repaired. I think this may be a little bit more pink. I shall just see. Okay, well I have painted all of that alizarin on there, but I'm not too happy with the colour because the one I'm seeing here is a more of a sort of a cherry colour. So I'm going to go in again. I'm just going to fiddle about with this until I've got that painting done. And when it's dry, I'll decide whether it needs another coat or whether I can put the mirror in. And in the meantime, I've taken the mirror and given it a good clean. Just giving it a bit of a shine with a little bit of a wax, soft wax polish. It's actually a leather polish, but it's very soft, so I thought it would just give it a bit of a protection. But I'm very pleased at the way the colours are. It doesn't look too modernised. And then I've just got a bit of rub and buff here. I'm just going to touch it here and there, just so it matches in with the way it would have been. I'm not absolutely a fan of gilt on stuff, but this is just what it would have been like, so touch that rose a little bit. I don't think I need anything else. Anyway, this is going back in. And I just need to tighten the screws. Thank goodness for little sewing machine screwdrivers. Fitting in there perfectly. This is its original stand. It has been repaired, and it actually does work, so I'm just leaving it as it is. Well, here it is, looking super pretty. It may not stay on this china cabinet, so I think that's been a super little repair. So if you want to know how to repair some Barbola work, that's how to do it. I turned the camera on because I'd started to do this painting and then realised maybe it would be another interesting thing for my bits and pieces video. And so I have a piece of slow stitching that I wanted to incorporate, and then all of a sudden I thought, just get a canvas and start to do something. It doesn't have to be totally done today, I just have to practice. So that's what I'm doing. I think I've got too much blue. Just going to go in with this. More water. One thing about abstract, you can just keep working until you're happy with it. And I just thought this sort of a design would suit the slow stitch and the rust. But I'll only know once it's dry, and I can place my pieces on. I'm leaving it for the moment. The last thing I have to do is finish my bookshelves. I've been fiddling them about. I've moved all the board games off the very bottom shelf to give some room. I've got books here, I've got books on there. They're going to get a good sort out. I'll show you some nice ones while I'm on. This one is one Naomi and Luke used to love when they were little. The Adventures of a Whole Eating Duck. The illustrations are so beautiful. It's just the most lovely book. Can't throw that one out. And then I've got this one too, the Fairy Picture Book. It's got an inscription here, 1902. Very beautiful. Anyway, they still have to find a place. I'm going to move some of these novels, which some of them are old and some of them are just ones I like. I'm going to move them down into this space. I'll sort out some of the craft books and I'll show you the sort of things I've got. I'll just put them there for a moment. Thing is with doing books, they take ages because you start opening them all up and reading them. Here's a good one. 10 poems about knitting. Well, it has taken me all day, but I have got them all sorted out and a bit rethemed. I'm going to take you along my bookshelves and I'm going to pick a couple out to show you that I think you'll be interested in. I do like history and natural history, and so I do have quite a lot of that. History of coal mining, because my dad was a miner, myths and Celtic stories, mathematics, lots of natural history. A big fan of Stephen Hawking. Stephen Moss is a good writer. So there's Accidental Countryside, the birds, how birds got their names, the 10 birds that changed the world, that's good. The robin. This one, that's good as well. 10 tomatoes that changed the world. I haven't read all of them because even when I wasn't reading over the past few years, I still kept buying books. But I've had a good sort out and I've got rid of some of the ones I don't want to read again. Pebbles on the Beach, Gathering Moss, Insect Crisis. This is a new one I haven't read yet. Nick Lane, brilliant science writer. That's particularly my favourite, but I dropped it in the bath, which is why it's all... I sort of fell asleep in the bath reading it ages ago. I've got my some of my cookery books here. This is all preserving and then baking, and then there's some Delia and some Chinese cooking, and then some really old ones. I'll show you one or two of them just now. So we've got knitting with some old knitting books here. Japanese knitting stitch book. Need to get in and do some of them. 4 books on crochet, the rest are knitting. And then Nalbinden, Sashiko, Kantha, embroidery, some design books, just bunny books with bunny designs in, crewel work, stump work. Michelle Carragher, her embroidery is wonderful. It's more of a just looking at book though. I was a bit disappointed with the book, I think, but it is still good. And then these ones, I don't really take much notice of them, but ribbon embroidery, dolls, because I was going to make do some dolls. These I've just recently got at the stitch shows. Layer, paint and stitch. I haven't really gone through it yet, but I should do. Francis Pickering, that's really good. And then old embroidery books. And then Mount Mellick, which I got a lot of white work embroidery books. And then down here is more sewing, as in clothes sewing. So I've got Natalie Channon, weaving, woodwork, whittling, carving birds, kites, willow project, nature. Then there's sewing clothes, couture sewing, so many dresses, they're good, mending, lot of Janzo Dottir, everyday style, that's good, dressmaking, that has got to be the best guide to fitting ever. I'd recommend that to anybody. And then lots of just different quilting books. Most of my quilting books I let go years ago because I just don't do quilting. All a doll's house and miniature types of sewing. This shelf is mainly vegetables, planting, gardening, plants, all to do with plants and gardening. Oh, still on the leftovers from the crafts. So needlepoint, Mount Mellick. These are beautiful. Basilide was the most wonderful bird painter, and so I got 2 of his books second hand. They're brilliant. And then these 2 I've got, but I haven't really done much about them yet. This beautiful watercolour flowers. And then this one here, Oliver Pyle, he has the most magnificent YouTube channel, and I got his book and I haven't really looked at it yet. More brilliant fibre books, I'll show you that one in a minute. Golden Thread, Golden Fleece, Colour, amazing book. My books, my fabric books. And then down to here is just like the extras really. The Reader's Digest books, I've got the full set. And then ferns and wildflowers. So it's mainly poetry along there. And some old children's books. And that Anglo-Saxon embroidery book, it just doesn't fit anywhere, so I've stood it at the front. So all in all, I'm very pleased that I've actually got it tidied. I'm going to show you 1 or 2 of those books now. I picked out a few books that I thought you might like to see, and some of my favourite ones. This one, I think I must have read it half a dozen times. It is so amazing. It says the calendar, the 5,000-year struggle to align the clock with the heavens, and what happened to the missing 10 days. I think I'm going to remember it all, and then when I read it after a few years, I read it again, and it's just amazing. So I said definitely if you like maths, or you like to know about how things came to be, I would definitely recommend that as a book. This one is a recent find at a charity shop, and I do like old craft books, but this one literally is an encyclopedia. It does have patterns in, but it has lots of interesting things as well. So it just goes through jacquard knitting, and then there must be some knitting on page 42. Florentine knitting, sometimes known as jacquard. But there's all sorts of little gems in Spanish knitting, sprang. I mean, it's brilliant that an old book like this is sort of talking about all sorts of things, and so it is just set out exactly like an encyclopedia. It's just an interesting book. Bohus. See, it's Scandinavian Rhapsody. Here's an example of bohus knitting using blue, white, brown and red. And so I think this is a book that's going to be nice to have a look through. So that's that one. I thought I'd show you this one because this is a Chinese English cookery of European food, and it is what my mother-in-law brought to England when she came here, because the recipes are in English and Chinese, and so she could read them and make English food. And I've actually made recipes out of here, obviously using the English side. I can't find a date, but I reckon this is the early 60s. Or radiation, so I think there was electric cookers called radiation, and so it must be associated with maybe a make of cooker. Menus, how to put together menus. Lancashire hot pot, baked onions, jam sponge, regulo, setting mark 7, time 2 hours, and then it's telling you how to put the whole dinner together. Just all sorts. It is definitely of its age, but it's interesting for me anyway. I'll leave those two for the end. This one, again, I found that. I paid £3 for this, Needlewoman Annual, and it's just beautiful. It's just a lovely old book. Lots of beautiful patterns. Sometimes I have a flick through. Cut work. Lovely, look at that lovely apron. It's beautiful. Embroidered Christmas picture. So it must have been the Needlewoman, I presume, was a weekly paper or something, and so this is the Needlewoman Annual. Oh my goodness. Caminex for the average figure. Look at that. Oh my goodness. It's the first time I've noticed that one. Knitted featherweight all-in-ones, slim fitting next to nothings with a delightful lace stitch border. Wow, there you go. The star of the show are these three by Thérèse de Dimont, so Encyclopedia of Needlework, and I sometimes just flick through it just because it's so lovely. I absolutely love it. And I didn't pay very much for any of these three. I didn't get them at the same time. I just happened to see that one in a shop, and they didn't have very much money on it, and I thought my luck was in. And these two I bought together. So this is the Alphabet de la Brodeuse. And it's just beautiful. I haven't actually used them yet for any of the patterns, but I love them every time. I think you could use them for embroidery, for knitting, you could crochet them, you could do rug hooking, you could use them for anything. So that one's lovely. And then this one's in a bit of a better condition. This is Motif pour Broderie, a deuxième series. It is in French. I haven't got this is not an English edition, but it doesn't matter to me. And they're in colour. They're so beautiful. And so she was just giving patterns for you to use for whatever you wanted to use. Look at that, that's lovely. It's telling you which numbers that you would need to use. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. That's glorious. I'm not sure that you see these very often, but if you do see them, they're worth getting a hold of, because they're just, if you like the old books. And again, at the back, all of the transfers are still intact. There's not one that's been torn out. It's so beautiful. Oh, there's everything in here. Absolutely everything. And this is in English. This is an English edition, this one. Velvet, tapestry, crochet work, tatting. I can't tat. I don't know whether it's coming back in fashion or not, but I could show tatting because I know how to tat. Macrame, netting. It's just gorgeous. Anyway, they're going back on my bookshelves. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching those things. That little mirror, it has just been on my desk for over a year, just waiting for me to just get on and do it. And I don't know, just never got to the top of the pile. And because I am doing all of this tidying up, I just thought, just do it. The table was clear, and so off I did it, and I'm really pleased I did, because it didn't really take a huge amount of time, and it's done now, and so that's the main thing. So that's one thing that's not on the list anymore. And then the painting, I can show you how that's moved on a little bit, because I have started arranging things on the top of the painting. I still feel the sky part is a little bit dark, but I can amend that, and I'm hoping to do some stitching through the canvas. I want to arrange things nicely and put extra fabric on. So I think I've got a good idea about what I'm wanting to see it as. And the intention always was to be a bit abstract with that. So that is still a work in progress, but I feel I know where I'm going with it. And then the knitting, well, this is where I'm up to at the moment. So I said I would keep on with it, and I am. So I'm on with the colour work cuff now. Obviously it's all colour work, but this is the sleeve, and I'm down to the bunny colour of the long piece that goes down from about the elbow down to the wrist. So not much to do, because it's getting narrower. With every few rows it gets a little bit more narrow, and so that is looking particularly lovely. I'm just going to stop right there and say thank you so much for joining me for this bit of all sorts of various things video, and I'll be back to something else next week. Could be stitching, could be something else, could be, well, like I said last week, your guess is as good as mine, because just what's to do. So I'll just leave it there and say thanks so much for all your support, and thank you for all the comments. Please press the like button, share it with somebody else if you think they'll be interested. That's always a lovely thing to do. See you next time. Bye everyone. Thanks so much.